I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to Ozark City Hall. We're glad you're here for the Board of Aldermen meeting and engaging with your elected officials. Listening to perspectives of city residents, business owners, and other community members helps our elected leaders make more informed decisions. Before the meeting begins, let's review our rules of order. These ensure the meeting is orderly and efficient while allowing everyone who would like to speak an opportunity to do so. There are two opportunities for you to speak: during the agenda's scheduled visitor and guest portion of the meeting and during public discussion of new bills and resolutions. During the agenda's scheduled visitor and guest portion, anyone who signed up at the city clerk's office before 5 p.m. the Wednesday before the meeting can speak to aldermen about the topic they specified. Now, in the public discussion of new bills and resolutions, that allows you to give comments for aldermen to consider before they make a decision. Anytime anyone is speaking, the following rules apply. First, only one person should speak at a time. Please be respectful of the person speaking and hold your comments until it's your turn. Second, anyone speaking must do so from the podium and speak into the microphone. Third, you must first provide your name and address in writing to the city clerk before beginning your comments. These forms are provided near the entrance. You also must state your name and address to the Board of Aldermen using the podium microphone. Fourth, all comments should be addressed to the mayor and aldermen. Finally, all speakers have 5 minutes. A digital timer will show you the countdown. The light will change from green to flashing yellow when 2 minutes are left. It will stay yellow at the 1 minute mark. Your comment time is up when the light turns red. The mayor or alderman may have additional questions for speakers after this time limit. Occasionally, the board will invite someone to make a presentation at the meeting. This is only to give information to the board about a specific topic. These presenters will have no time limit on giving their information. This meeting will be live streamed and recorded with video and audio unless there are technical difficulties. The use of cell phones or other devices is discouraged during the meeting. Please silence your phones right now. Again, thank you for being here and engaging with the City of Ozark. The meeting will begin shortly.
Okay. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderman Aiken.
Here.
Alderman Campbell.
Here.
Alderman Galloway.
Here.
Alderman Hutchinson is absent. Alderman Metcalf is absent. Alderman Schneider.
Here.
We have 4 aldermen present. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We'll first look at the approval of the minutes from the February the 3rd, 2025 regular meeting. Any questions about these minutes as printed? Okay. If not, entertain a motion.
We'll make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes from February 3rd, 2025.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. The motion is that we approve the regular meeting minutes of February the 3rd, 2025 as printed. That motion was made by Alderman Aiken. It was seconded by Alderman Snyder. All in favor of voting to approve as printed these minutes, do so by the show of hands. And that does carry. There's no ceremonial manner tonight. Also, there's no scheduled guests. So we'll go right into our first reading of our bills. And the first bill we come across is bill number 3638.
Your Honor, I make a motion we place bill number 3638 on first reading by title only.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. The motion is that we place bill number 3638 on first reading by title only. That was made by Alderman Aiken, second by Alderman Galloway. All in favor of voting on this motion, discuss bill 3638. Do so by show of hands. And that does carry.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, amending the zoning code and official map by changing the zoning classification of certain real property located at 1767 South 15th Avenue, Lot 3 of the Commerce East First Edition subdivision.
Okay. We'll recognize our Community Development Director, Randall Whiteman, to come. Oh, is this going to be? Oh, I apologize. Put you on the spot. I want to see if he's awake.
Yes, good evening. I discussed this with Randall, and since I had taken it through the Planning and Zoning Commission, I'm going to follow it through with the Board of Aldermen. And then following this item on the agenda and the future applications, Mr. Whitman will be bringing these to the board. The zoning is a zoning request from commercial C2 to office warehouse 0W, 0.84 acres in size, located at 1767 South 15th Avenue. The Alderman may recall one of the prior meetings, we looked at the property to the south of this facility. The property is currently illegal non-conforming as there is an existing storage facility on this property. The surrounding zoning and uses are commercial to the north, which is vacant, commercial to the east with Liberty Utilities offices, office warehousing to the south with some storage, and then residential to the west with the residence. The property can be serviced by city water and sewer and is currently on the site at this time. Any redevelopment of the site shall comply with any required stormwater hydrology report requirements and a review of a traffic impact study to determine if any additional requirements are warranted. There are no environmental features on this site. In addition, that any redevelopment of this property at a future date would have to comply with all other zoning ordinances that are in place. In looking at the guiding factors for the zoning of this parcel, in regards to land use and development goal number 1, provide the opportunity for future growth. The parcel is in the city and surrounded by city limits on all sides, which provides an opportunity for infill development that is compact and contiguous, and then also ensure future development is compatible with adjoining streets. The parcel is along 15th Avenue, which is a commercial street and is suitable for a commercial development or office warehouse development of this kind. The future land use map, the plan did recommend a future land use as industrial for this parcel. The requested zoning of office warehousing would be an appropriate alternative to the recommended future land use, as it is a similar zoning which allows for similar districts. Also, the office warehouse is a less intense type use than the industrial, which aligns more closely with the surrounding areas. In looking at item number 2, the existing uses of property within the general area of the property in question. The existing uses surrounding the property include mini storage to the south and vacant land to the north, which would be compatible to the proposed rezoning. To the east, there are offices, and then to the west is a single-family residential structure. The property is a non-conforming use with existing mini storage on it at this time. Item number 3, the zoning classification of property within the general area of the property in question. The properties to the north and east are zoned C2 general commercial. There is a single-family zoning district R1B to the west, and then to the south is office warehousing zoning district. Looking at item 4, the suitability of the property in question to the uses permitted under the existing zoning classification. The current zoning of the property is C2, and the existing mini storage use is a legal non-conforming on this parcel. The rezoning would bring this parcel into conformance and allow for future development of the storage facility. Lastly, item 5, the trend of development, if any, in the general area of the property in question, including changes, if any, which have taken place in its present zoning classification. The property to the south is currently, again, zoned office warehousing, which brought that land use into compliance. A residential subdivision was developed further down the road of 15th, which also abuts industrial development. To the east of this subdivision, or the east of this parcel in a subdivision, there was a recent rezoning in 2021 of C2 general commercial to OW office warehouse as well. The applicant's representative did have the required neighborhood meeting. There was no one in attendance at that neighborhood meeting. It's based on staff's recommendations. All requirements have been met for the approval of this zoning amendment, and the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval 7-0. With that, be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Yes, Alderman Galloway.
You did state, and I think it's written within the ordinance, that this property is already being used for that purpose of mini storage, so there's already existing buildings there.
Yes, that's correct.
All this legislation does is say it's legal.
Yes, currently it's considered a legal non-conforming, and so this rezoning would bring it into compliance for that zoning and use. So it is fully developed at this time.
So it has been legal and non-conforming, and now it's legal and conforming if we enact this?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I was just going to the image in case.
Anyone else?
Questions.
Okay, I am not seeing movement. So again, this is a first reading, so I need to ask, is anyone here who wishes to speak for Bill number 3638 in the audience tonight? Okay, I'm not seeing movement. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak against Bill 3638? It is, okay. Okay, I'm going to close this then to the public this time, and just final comment from the board. Yes, sir. Alderman Campbell.
Could you have Mr. Smith come back up?
Yes, Director.
I just want to clarify, the one that was recently rezoned, which would be the one to the south of this one, is that right?
That's correct.
Whenever I went to, I think it was the PNC meeting on that one, there was some discussion, and I think there was even discussion here at our meeting, about some stormwater runoff. Is that coming off of this property, or is it still coming off of the one even north of this one?
Yeah, that existing stormwater runoff is coming to the north off of Highway 14 and through that vacant land and cutting around the northwest corner of this parcel.
Okay. If we put rooftops or anything impermeable on this piece of land, would we have to address stormwater? And it may have said that.
Yes, in the
Okay.
staff report, any additional improvements would have to comply with our stormwater regulations.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, yes, sir. Anyone else? Okay, therefore, Bill 3638 will be held over to a future meeting. We're now going to come to Bill number 3639.
Your Honor, I move that we place Bill number 3639 on its first reading by title only.
Seconded by,
Second.
okay. The motion is to replace Bill number 3639 on its first reading by title only. That motion was made by Alderman Galloway, seconded by Alderman Snyder. All in favor of voting on this motion, discuss Bill 3639, do so by show of hands. And that does carry.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to utilize the State of Missouri Cooperative Procurement Program. I'll be introducing this bill. This ordinance falls under our city purchasing code, which allows the city to utilize cooperative purchasing programs. A cooperative purchasing program works to essentially utilize another agency that competitively bids services or goods and then secures favorable terms in a contract for municipalities and other agencies to use. This particular bill, along with the two following bills, are different cooperative purchasing programs that the city has used in the past. This State of Missouri Cooperative Purchasing Program is utilized by many departments for many different services and goods, and we bring this back every year for approval by the Board of Aldermen because we have to do that by ordinance. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for our city attorney? Okay, again, this is a first reading. I'm going to open it this time to the public. Anyone here who in favor of Bill number 3639? This is your time. Okay, no movement. Anyone here opposed to Bill 3639? Okay, I'm going to close this now to the public this time. Final comment from the board. Any final questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Therefore, Bill 3639 will be held over to future meeting. Now let's draw attention to Bill 3640.
Your Honor, I move that we place Bill number 3640 on its first reading by title only.
Second.
Okay. The motion is that we place Bill number 3640 on its first reading by title only. That motion was made by Alderman Galloway. It was seconded by Alderman Campbell. All in favor of voting on this motion to discuss Bill 3640, do so by show of hands. And that does carry.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to utilize the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program. I'll introduce this bill as well.
Yeah.
This is the second of the three cooperative purchasing programs that the city utilizes. This one is through the state of Minnesota's legislature. It's called Sourcewell, but it is a state-run agency. And an example of how the city has utilized this cooperative purchasing program would be a purchase of a bus by our Parks Department. They found a very favorable bid for a bus, and they were able to purchase it utilizing this program. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for our city attorney? Okay, not seeing any. I'm going this time to the public. Anyone here who's speaking in favor of Bill 3640? This is your time. Okay. Anyone here who is opposed to Bill 3640? You may come to the mic. Not seeing movement. I'm going to close this to the public then. Final board comments, anyone? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I'm going to now, Bill 3640 will be held over to a future meeting. Now we'll draw attention to Bill number 3641.
Your Honor, I move that we place Bill number 3641 on its first reading by title only.
And seconded by,
Second.
okay. The motion is to replace Bill 3641 on its first reading by title only. That motion was made by Alderman Galloway, seconded by Alderman Snyder. All in favor of voting on the motion to discuss Bill 3641, do so by show of hands. And that does carry.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to utilize the National Intergovernmental Purchasing Alliance Company doing business as Omnia Partners Cooperative Procurement Program. I'll also be introducing this bill. This is the third cooperative purchasing program that the city utilizes. This cooperative purchasing program was most recently utilized for many departments to purchase office furniture. So this is how the city has secured office furniture for both the planning and development remodel, the law department remodel, and I believe the police department also utilizes this, this contract. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for our city attorney? Okay, this time we'll open up to the public. Since it's the first reading, anyone here who is speaking in favor of Bill 3641? Now is your time to come to the mic. See no movement. Anyone here opposed to Bill 3641? Okay, not seeing. I'm going to close this to the public. Final board comment. Any questions before I move on? Okay, I am not seeing any. I'm going to, therefore, Bill 3641 be held to a future meeting. Now we're going to draw attention to Bill number 3642.
Your Honor, I move that we place Bill number 3642 on its first reading by title only, please.
Second.
Okay, the motion is that we place Bill number 3642 on its first reading by title only. That motion was made by Alderman Snyder. It was seconded by Alderman Galloway. All in favor of voting on the motion to discuss Bill 3642, do so by show of hands. And that does carry.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to apply for, accept, and to do all things necessary for a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Highway Safety Program for Traffic Enforcement Grant.
Okay, thank you. This time we'll have our Police Chief, Justin Arnold, come and comment about this particular bill.
Good evening. So this is the same MoDOT grant that we apply for and have before you every February. It is actually for the grant period that starts on October 1st of 2025 and runs through September 30th of 2026. That's how far in advance they are. This year, in this grant program, we're asking for $4,500 from the state for driving while intoxicated and $5,000 for hazardous moving vehicle enforcement. This program just allows us to further our traffic enforcement efforts and ensuring that there's roadway safety within the city of Ozark. By authorizing this, this also allows us to apply for some mini grants and things like that that come up that we don't have necessarily time to bring back before you. So this umbrella would allow us to receive some other funds potentially from the state pertaining to roadway safety.
Okay, any questions?
I'm sorry. In the explanation sheet, there is a remark that we do ask that this be expedited. We have a due date of Saturday, March 1st, which is in 6 days. As you guys know, I bring it to you every year in February. We have to go through mandatory training sometimes towards the end of January, and a lot of times we don't get access to fulfill all the grant requirements until the month of February. So there's no way that we can turn it around in time to get this on 2 separate meetings just because of the time that's allocated to us.
Okay. Yes, sir. Alderman Campbell, you first.
Could you have Ms. Snyder, the lady, that- Maria, I can't remember her last name. Nieder, okay. Go to the third slide on this, the two more slides down. Or up, I guess. Okay. The date on that authorization, because of weather, things have changed. Is that just a technical glitch that we can handle, or what's the
So
process
how
there?
they send it to us is a blank form.
Okay.
That was probably pre-filled just for a matter of convenience for the
Okay.
meeting last Monday. We do have the document in its original blank form that I am sure Ms. Hodges can edit to accurately reflect that this was heard on tonight rather than on February 18th.
And we're still good time-wise as far as meeting
As long as I can
Saturdays.
get it back to them by
Okay.
Saturday, we're good.
All right.
Okay, it's Alderman Snyder, you're next.
Chief, this particular item is more than just about revenue and stats, is that correct?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. A major focus of ours is roadway safety. You know, a lot of people think that it's all about revenue and things like that. Well, over 80% of the traffic stops that we make do not result in any form of citation. There's no revenue generated from it. The sole purpose is to make our streets safer. And oftentimes visibility and enforcement of traffic laws is all it really takes to make some people drive in a safer manner. So absolutely, it has actually very little to do or nothing to do with generating revenue. It has more to do with decreasing the chances for motor vehicle crashes, injuries, property damage, and fatalities on roadways in Ozark.
So if we get one drunk driver off the road, we've accomplished our mission, is that correct?
I hope we do a lot more, but one is a good starting place. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not putting you on the spot, but do you know since January 1st, 2025, how many drunk drivers have been arrested?
I can probably get that information for you within a few minutes.
Okay.
Not right
Sorry,
now.
I
not in
didn't
front of
put you on the
everyone.
spot for that.
Yeah, I could probably get you that information within a few minutes. But I can tell you that over the last 5 years, we have steadily been increasing not only our focus on it, but our focus on taking impaired drivers off our roadways.
Well, not just because I know this is very much, unfortunately, is a need for
Absolutely.
the safety of our people.
Absolutely.
So I did not mean to put you on the spot, seriously.
I can get you that number later, sir. You
Okay.
can share it with the board.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the board for our chief? Thank you, sir. Okay. At this time, it's first reading, so I'm going to open up to the public again. And is anyone here who wishes to speak for bill number 3642? Okay, I'm not seeing movement. Is anyone here who would speak against bill 3642? This is your time. Okay, I'm not seeing movement, so I'm going to close this to the public now. Any final comments from the board? Okay, again, the chief has requested, so I'll turn this over to you.
Your Honor, I move that we place bill number 3642 on its second reading by title only, please.
Second.
Okay, the motion is that we place bill number 3642 on its second reading by title only. That motion was made by Alderman Snyder. It was seconded by Alderman Galloway. All in favor on this motion to discuss bill 3642, do so by show of hands. And that does carry.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to apply for, accept, and to do all things necessary for a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Highway Safety Program for Traffic Enforcement Grant.
Okay, any other comments from that chief? Are you good? Okay, any final comments from the board? Okay, Alderman Snyder?
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt bill number 3642 as ordinance number 25-012.
Second.
Okay, the motion is that we adopt bill 3642 to become ordinance 25-012. That motion was made by Alderman Snyder. It was seconded by Alderman Galloway. Roll call, please.
Alderman Campbell,
Aye.
Alderman Aiken,
Aye.
Alderman Galloway,
Aye.
Alderman Hutchinson is absent. Alderman Snyder,
Aye.
Alderman Metcalf is absent. We have 4 aye votes. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. We'll now draw attention to Bill number 3643.
Your Honor, it is my distinct privilege and to move to place Bill number 3643 on its first reading by title only.
And-
Second.
Okay. And the motion is that we place Bill 3643 on its first reading by title only. That motion was made by Alderman Galloway, second by Alderman Snyder. All in favor of voting on this motion to discuss Bill 3643, do so by show of hands. And that does carry.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, granting Ozark Electric Cooperative a franchise for electric distribution. I will be introducing this bill. You may recall that the Missouri law was recently amended to allow rural electric cooperatives to operate inside the city limits if certain conditions are met for that property. Ozark Electric Cooperative and the city have negotiated a franchise agreement. The proposed franchise agreement indicates that there will be a similar franchise fee that's imposed on other electric distributors within the city limits, which is 2%. The electric cooperative has also agreed to do 2 things in addition to that, which are to abide by the city's dark skies ordinance and to utilize energy efficient light fixtures in the right of way. The city believes this is a very favorable franchise. It's staff recommendation to enter into the franchise. It is for 20 years, which is the legal maximum limit for that. If you have any questions, there are representatives here, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have related to the agreement.
Okay. Yes, Alderman Campbell.
You may want to call the representative up. I don't.
Okay, yes, sir, they're here.
Good evening, Mayor, Alderman. I'm Mr. Meadows. My firm, Carnahan Evans, represents Ozark Electric Co-op. We have John Davis here. He is Member Relations Manager for Ozark Electric Co-op. We would love to have the opportunity tonight to tell you all anything you want to know about this.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And this is due to my ignorance, okay? So I'm not asking, I'm not trying to point one direction or the other, anything I can't. But explain to me, whenever we have more than one electric utility, are there certain areas that you cover and then other areas that the other utility would cover? Or is it kind of the person that's paying the bill, me or whoever it might be, chooses, or how does that work?
So state statute was changed a couple of years ago to allow properties that are being annexed into the city that are already served by an electric co-op to keep that electric co-op service. So it's only new properties being brought into the city that have pre-existing service from a co-op that would come into the city as part of a city annexation or a further development of the property. So it is not transferring property that is already served by the city's other electric services. John?
Yeah. Or we would be able to serve a property, the city the size of Ozark is over 1,600, and that's the current threshold. So for us to be able to serve, it can't be annexed into the city. So an agreement would have to be made for a consent to annex at a later date. So that's how we're able to serve within inside the city limits before they're annexed.
Okay, can I go?
Oh, yes, sir.
So if there's a property that's already inside the city limits, but there's no electric service there now, there are no improvements on the property, we'll say. Did I understand you to say that property that's been improved that may already be inside the city can be served, or?
No, that property that's inside city limits already cannot be added. This is just for new properties coming into the city. When the co-op begins service, it can only do so prior to annexation.
Okay, and I'm gonna go one step farther with that, but if you tell me no on this one, I'll quit. Can jurisdictional swaps be made between, let's say, 2 electric utilities and that apply to a property that's already in the city limits?
Not under the existing statutes.
Okay.
there are times to where a co-op, let's say an owned or a municipality, will have a territorial agreement
Right.
that's made, but in a situation like that, to swap.
It
Okay,
could happen if the properties were not already within the city and municipal limits.
okay. Okay.
No, good questions. Anyone else? Good. Well, thank you.
All have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Okay, since this is the first reading, I'm going to open up now Bill 3643 to the public. Anyone here who would speak for this bill? Yes, ma'am.
Anna Evans, 113 East Church Street, Ozark. Mayor and Aldermen, thank you again for your time this evening. I wanted to speak, as you all know, and I've spoken with many of you, I represent Show Me Christian County, which is the city of Ozark's and Christian County's economic development nonprofit organization. And just a couple comments. I wanted to speak in favor of the franchise agreement. We see this as a positive from a business attraction perspective. We have worked with each and every utility provider within that services our Christian County territory. Ozark Electric has been a great partner in development for business attraction and also for retention and expansion of existing business. And again, we just see this as a positive for continued business development. It's always a great thing whenever, there's property that maybe in that exact case might, not be annexed into a local municipality that's currently in the county, but there may be some interest in development of that property. And so in that case, we see it as a positive thing and retention and attraction asset for that property owner to be able to have the option to continue service with Ozark Electric if that is their preference. So wanted to voice our support for this ordinance, and thank you for your consideration as well.
Thank you very much. Okay, anyone here who wishes to speak for Bill 3643? Okay, I'm not seeing movement. Anyone here who wishes to speak against Bill 3643? Okay, I'm not seeing movement, so I'm going to close it now to the public. Final board response? I am not seeing any, so Bill 3643 be held at a future meeting. Now we're going to draw attention to Bill number 3644.
Your Honor, I move that we place Bill number 3644 on its first reading by title only.
Second by?
Second.
Okay. Okay. The motion is that we place Bill 3644 on its first reading by title only. That motion was made by Alderman Snyder. It was seconded by Alderman Campbell. All in favor of voting on this motion to discuss Bill 3644, do so by show of hands. And that does carry.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to enter into a contract with Motorola Solutions Incorporated for body-worn cameras and related software.
Okay. And we'll welcome back our chief.
Good evening again. So what you have before you is a contract for us to implement a body-worn camera program with the police department. In 2025, utilizing body-worn cameras in law enforcement is the standard. Majority of agencies utilize body-worn cameras in their day-to-day operations, and we are trying to get consistent with what the standard in law enforcement is. We've looked at different solutions through different vendors, and there are a lot out there. And when it finally came down to it, we felt that going with Motorola Solutions was the most beneficial to our organization, mainly due to the already high investment that we've placed in our in-car camera solution. So we utilize Motorola dash cams for all of our patrol vehicles, and we've used those for close to 20 years at this point. We're at 17, 18 years, and we have a large investment in our fleet in-car cameras through Motorola, formerly WatchGuard. The reason why it is so beneficial for us to go through Motorola is because the body-worn cameras sync with our in-car cameras, and now we're able to have a full and complete and accurate depiction of what's going on from the time our officers are in their car to when they're out, captured on their body cam, and things like that. Body-worn cameras, one of the biggest pluses of them is they provide full transparency of what police actions look like. They do improve public trust, but they also provide a protection from liability from the city. Because again, it does provide a clear and accurate depiction of what occurs. The contract in front of you will allow us to implement body-worn cameras for all uniformed police officers whose primary role within the department is to respond to citizen-generated calls for service. So a few of the areas that would not be encompassed in this would be command staff, which are administrative police officers who spend a majority of our time in the office working on administrative duties, providing oversight, supervision, things like that. We are not primary responders to calls for service. There's actually very few times where you would find that. So command staff would not be included in that above the lieutenant and above. Also non-commissioned police personnel. So the people that work around our office, like police clerks, evidence clerks, animal control, things like that. Detectives as well, because they're typically in an office environment and they're not responding to citizens' calls for service. But this would provide us everything that we need as far as any hardware, software, access to the platforms utilized, some of the software we're already using. And it's over a 5-year breakdown or a 5-year contract. So in total, that contract would be $250,000. The first year is $55,490.74. That includes all upfront costs. There's always some onboarding fees and things like that anytime you go into a new program. But it also provides us with access to video as a service and the video evidence management. That is a huge undertaking when you get into managing the data that you get when you employ or deploy body-worn cameras. And then after that, our yearly annual costs will go down to $48,627.31. We did budget for the implementation. And I think I need to go back a little bit. We've actually, the last few years, have sought many grant opportunities to try to get this funded. We were met with negative results on this. This is a big expenditure that we asked for. But we have not had any luck with those big grants, which is not unusual when we apply for things like that. And so we did exhaust as many resources as that we knew to exhaust to try to get this funded. But ultimately, you know, we were just at a point where we needed to implement it. We started being not consistent with the standard in law enforcement is basically the best way of putting it. And we try to meet the standards of our industry in every way that we can right now. And moving forward with this in our budget was one way that we could do that. So we already have policies and procedures developed and implemented for this because our two motorcycle officers, because we can't equip them with dash cams, they are already utilizing these body-worn cameras. So that actually did save us a significant amount of the upfront cost because we're already utilizing this program within our fleet of in-car and body-worn cameras systems. So, any questions?
I think Alderman Campbell was first.
Well, my first question was budget, but you already answered that. And then the second one, you partially answered that, and it's on policy and procedures.
Yeah.
It's already in place. But that kind of ties into my third question, which is the real question, I guess. You had mentioned that it's used in citizen-generated calls and citizen calls for service. So, and you may have said this and I missed it, but if a police officer pulls over somebody for speeding, that's not a citizen call for service, and it's not a citizen-generated call. What's the policy and procedure, number one, on do we use body cameras at that point? And if the policy is to use body cameras in situations like that also, I see a lot of positives out of this, but I'm kind of doing a devil's advocate thing here, but
Yeah.
I'm not.
So I probably misspoke.
Okay.
So they will only be deployed on officers whose primary duties include responding to citizen-generated calls for service.
Okay.
Okay.
You may have said that, and I
Yeah.
misunderstood.
So that's a wide gamut of different things, but yes, our officers who are out doing traffic enforcement will have body cameras on them.
Okay.
Even though they're making traffic stops, their primary duties are first and foremost to be reactive to respond to citizen-generated calls for service.
I got you.
A secondary duty of theirs would be do things like proactive traffic enforcement. Their body cams would be rolling through the duration of their shift.
Do you care if I follow up on that? Is that okay?
Okay.
So let's say we have a police officer who might be less than desirable. Okay. What would the policy and procedure be if this police officer turns off his body camera prior to making a stop, or whether it be in his car or on his body, either one? Is there a is there a potential for that to happen?
Oh,
number
absolutely.
one.
Absolutely.
And then what would the procedure?
There are multiple different methods that you can address things like that. Probably at its most basic form is we have a code of conduct policy that stipulates that officers shall do nothing to impair the efficiency or the effectiveness of the organization, right? So I could probably find a half dozen more that specifically address what you're talking about. But at bottom line, at its core, if somebody does an overt step like that to circumvent technologies and policies and procedures that we have in place to ensure the standard of our work is at a certain level, at minimum, they are impairing the efficiency and effectiveness of our department by doing that, and they can be held accountable for that.
It's acceptable.
Overwhelmingly, though, I think officers are very strongly okay.
I just wanted to bring a worst case scenario type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I believe Alderman Aiken, you're next.
Well, and just to piggyback off that, a slightly less nefarious example would be officer who forgets to activate body cam. Is there anything you can do to recover footage in that? I thought I saw something in this contract that talked about footage being stored temporarily on the cloud and you could go back and recover it.
So I am not the best person to answer that, but I do know it's very similar to our dash cams right now. Our dash cams, we have the ability to, I believe they call it record after the fact, I believe is what they actually, they term it, to where if we find out that there was some type of error, it wasn't activated properly, whatever it may be, even in a situation which I don't think we will have, but if we did have that situation, there are, with some limitations, which I don't know exactly what they are, there are possibilities of going back and retrieving that footage that maybe wasn't purposefully meant to overlook or not capture. It was just an error or forgetful or whatever. So to answer your question, I don't know exactly what that looks like. However, I do know with the technology we have right now in our cars, we have the ability to do what you're asking about. So I can only imagine that technology is probably even better with the body worn cameras than our in-car cameras. But I can probably get you specifics on that later.
Okay. Alderman Snyder, you're next, sir.
Chief, these cameras can exonerate both the officer and the person that they're confronting. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the technology you mentioned in here, I'm very familiar with. These cameras can actually triangulate to a car, to a camera, to a camera, to a camera. And you can theoretically get 4 different versions of what's going on with that specific stop. This is a win-win for us. It's not only a win-win for the police officers, it's a win-win for everyone out in public that questions what law enforcement officers do. Anytime that an officer makes a stop, which is probably the most dangerous thing a police officer will do, other than an armed robbery or domestic, I think is probably the best piece of equipment we can have. Coming from an era where we didn't have body cameras when I started, we were lucky to have dash cams. And I was skeptical of it, but I've seen what it does. It will make both the officer and the subject accountable for their actions. This is nothing but a win-win for us, and it's well worth the investment.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I know you made the comment that command staff and all will not have this, but I know at times, because if vacation, sickness, sometimes command staff actually has to go on patrol. At that point, would there be issue one?
Yeah, so we do have extras, or we will have extras, where in that, we will all be accessible within the platform to where even I can put on one and log in, and it shows that it is my body cam footage from what I was doing. However, as a daily routine, when they are conducting their normal duties, administrative duties, as they would be in the office, they would not be required to wear one.
I understand. Okay. Anyone else from the board?
But in one of our 16 DWIs that we had during the month of January, those officers would have been wearing a body worn camera, sir.
Thank you for that. Well, I hear the officer talking. I know there've been several, unfortunately. So.
I don't know about February yet.
Okay.
They would be wearing a camera also.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Again, this is the first reading. So at this time, I'm going to open this up to the public. Anyone here who wishes to speak for bill number 3644? Okay. Anyone who is opposed? Hopefully, 3644. Very good. Okay, I'm going to close this to the public now. Final board response. Are we good? Okay, not seeing any. Bill number 3644 be held over to a future meeting. We're finished with our first readings. Now we're going to turn our attention now to resolution 2015.
Your Honor, as to resolution number 2015, I move to table indefinitely.
Second.
Okay, there's a second. Okay, the motion is that we table resolution 2015. That was made by Alderman Galloway. It was seconded by Alderman Campbell. All in favor of this motion to table resolution 2015, do so by show of hands. Okay, and it does carry. Okay. And now move on to our second readings then.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion
Yes, sir.
that we table bill number 3635 until our next session. And the reasoning for that, I would like to have all aldermen present so they can have a full understanding as to what's going on here.
Okay, is there a second to this then?
Second.
Okay, the motion is that we table bill number 3635. That was made by Alderman Snyder, second by Alderman Galloway. All in favor of this motion to table bill 3635, do so by show of hands. Okay, that does carry. Okay, well, we'll draw attention now to bill number 3636.
Your Honor, I'd also like to make a motion to table bill number 3636 till our next session, again, till we can have all the aldermen present to have a better understanding as to what's going on with it.
Okay, is there a second to this?
Second.
Okay, is there discussion? I see your light on, sir.
Right.
Yeah, yes, sir, yes.
I'd like to ask Alderman Snyder to consider a friendly amendment. I've done a lot of research on this. I don't have a strong opinion for or against, but I think in the research I've done, which I've copied everybody from the attorney all the way around to Mr. Smith on that research, I think there's enough information there that there is potential cause for us to discuss it in closed session prior to it coming back out into open session. And I'm asking that Alderman Snyder do a friendly amendment to his motion to not just table it until the next meeting, but to table it until such time as we make a decision to go into closed session, I guess would be the right way to say it. I may not be saying that right, but I think you know what I'm trying to get, the point I'm trying to get across.
So what I'm hearing is that we table it with understanding that when it's brought back forth again, it'd be into closed session.
If the executive, which you said the agenda, if you set it on the agenda and, with your communications with the city attorney and the city administrators and whatever, that you at least consider it coming back as closed session item prior to coming back as a public session.
Well, after we have a chance to study the material and see and make a determination that it may require that.
Okay. I think he would have to amend his motion since, am I right or wrong?
Well, our city attorney wishes to speak.
Okay.
Well, were you asking me a question? Okay, it sounds to me like there's a concern if it's tabled to the next meeting, it would come back as a second reading bill, and the closed session or executive session usually follows that. And it sounds like Alderman Campbell would like to have an executive session prior to it being heard on second reading. And so just the timing of those two things, the way the motion has been made, if it comes back, you wouldn't have an opportunity to do a closed session, if I'm understanding the question correctly.
Okay. Yes, Alderman Snyder.
Well, I would respectfully decline that. I do not want to amend this. This isn't rocket science. Okay, I understand that there are some issues with potential litigation. Anything we do has potential litigation attached to it. Again, I'm going to decline with amending my motion. I am going to leave it as is. I just believe we need to get every alderman on board before we hear it.
Okay, Alderman Galloway.
I don't know if this is a point of order or that's really an inquiry for the city attorney, so I'll call it that. If the amendment is declined, but it is tabled, and you review the research, do whatever research on your own, and you determine that we need a closed session, would you have time to do that before the next meeting?
I think I would have time to research what has been provided by Alderman Campbell and report back to the mayor and the mayor pro tem, and you can make a decision from that recommendation as to whether you would hold an early closed session that evening.
So effectively, it could be tabled and the same process would be handled. You'll evaluate it, provide advice to the executive, and then if the executive determines this involves potential litigation, we can have a closed session.
Okay, so Alderman Campbell, are you satisfied with that answer, that it will be researched, and if determined it is a closed session, we'll do a
I
closed
think
session?
that's a good idea. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So are you going to withdraw your amendment?
I'll withdraw my request for an amendment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, again, it will be researched and we'll make a determination then, as you requested, but without the amendment. Okay, so we have before us then a motion on bill number 3636 is to table it until the next meeting. That was made by Alderman Snyder, second by Alderman Galloway. All in favor of this motion to table bill 3636, do so by show of hands. And that does carry. Okay, now we'll draw attention to bill number 3637.
Your Honor, as with the other bills on second reading tonight, I'll make a motion that we table bill number 3637 until our next meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion is that we table bill 3637 to a future meeting. That was made by Alderman Aiken, second by Alderman Campbell. All in favor of voting on this motion to table bill 3637, do so by show of hands. And that does carry. Okay, we are now finished with our bills for second reading. At this time, City Administrator, any comments for us?
Your Honor, I don't have anything to report this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we still are good on time. We had a written report from our planning and development. Is there anything that we should be said about that to the board?
I have a few things to report. Thank
Yeah.
you. Good evening. There's quite a few permits that are on there. It looks like for this, so I should back up for a second. As I understand, this is a report that really reflects the activity in December of last year. It's not really January. And here we are in February. In 2024, there were December, there were 37 permits issued. 16 were single family. That's probably one of the biggest factors. And yeah, thank you. So for 2024, there was 175 permits for the year. That's an 80% increase over 2023. Commercial and two-family and whatnot are kind of, they fluctuate, of course, but that's a significant increase. In 2022, there was 140. According to Cameron, some of the backstory is that a lot of permits are dependent on when final plats are issued, when construction gets completed and things like that. So that's an explanation. Some things I've caught wind of that seem to be important to our questions about when our occupancy going to be issued, one of which was for the Cox Rehab Hospital. We did talk to the contractor. They're aiming for early, say the third quarter, early fall of this year to finish that project. Burger King seems to keep coming up. They just told us the other day that they're aiming towards the end of June. We'll see how well they do. They had some issues with
to start construction or to.
Yeah, they said occupancy, so.
Because I get asked that all the time.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah. That's really the big thing. I'll share with you that my first month on the job has been a significant learning curve. I can tell you right now, this is a job that requires a lot of time management and learning names and responsibilities and things like that. So any other questions I can answer about the report?
Anyone? Okay. Yes, Alderman Galloway.
Well, I hope you enjoy your job. We enjoy having you here.
Thank you much. I am enjoying it. I'm having a great time. I sincerely can tell you that I am.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll next call up our Park and Recreation Director.
Good evening. Our parks report is in front of you all. The highlight that I'll share is that OC membership has surpassed 6,000 for the first time ever. And so that's a very exciting thing. Our team is very excited about that. And that goes from our lifeguards at the pool to our fitness center staff. It's been a big year and there's more things to come. Of course, it's January, so that number will trickle down as people maybe lose track of their resolutions. But ultimately, we're very excited about that. Beyond that, I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
I'll speak personally. It's last Saturday is still very, very busy.
Yeah. And those snow days when people wanted to get to an 87-degree pool were very, very busy as well.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you, sir.
I have one question. Is
I'm
pool, you mentioned 80s, is the pool significantly warmer than it was before?
So yes, the pool holds water temperature substantially better. One, when you introduce tens of thousands of gallons of 60-degree water from the tap, that drags the temperature down pretty quickly. But one of the improvements made in early 2024, late 2023, cycles the recreation pool water through the Dectron system, causing that pool water to hold a better temperature as well. And so you're looking at about 82 degrees for the lap pool and then 84 to 85 for the rec pool. And then the air temperature just 2 degrees higher than that. So it's very warm and cozy in that pool.
It's good to know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any other questions?
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, sir.
I thank you.
Okay. Board, final comments? Yes, Alderman Snyder.
I have a couple of things. Earlier today, there was an explosion in Branson at a hotel. And I know that there were 4 firefighters that were injured. So we need to keep those guys and the other folks, in our thoughts and prayers on that one. We don't know what's going on. I believe it's still an active scene down there, but they had a building that had a significant structural damage down there due to a gas explosion. The other thing I have, obviously we had the snowfall event. And I received a telephone call from the public services. Said, hey, we can't pick your trash up, put all your bags out the side of the road. It's going to be a week before we can get to it. I have a problem with that. We fought these folks tooth and nail. We went to bat for them to make things happen for them, to bring them back here. And as the snow started going away, the U.S. Postal Service was even beating these guys out here. Okay? Yeah, and that's the way I feel about it. I talked to Mr. Johnson about this. He reached out to them, and I believe the response is they'll get to it when they can this week. I have a problem with that, especially when they're telling people to stack their bags of trash out next to the road. and we'll get to it a week later. There are problems that come with that, regardless. A lot of the snow has come away. It's gone away. It's continuing to go away. And if our folks can, work some overtime, I do believe that needs to be addressed as well. And I believe that comes from the corporate level, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? I'll make sure. Thank you all for being here tonight for this special time. And so if not, is a motion that we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, so the motion that we adjourn is made by Alderman Snyder, is seconded by Alderman Aiken. All in favor, do so by show, raise their hands. Okay. Eddie, are you in favor of us adjourning?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, okay, we are adjourned.